Hello and welcome. I'm Julia Dem, Senior Lecturer in Law at La Trobe University, Australia. And together with my colleagues, Professor Nicole Graham from Sydney Law School and Zoe Ney, who's a PhD candidate at Melbourne Law School, we're leading the Climate Conscious Lawyers Project, which is working to transform legal education to ensure the next generation of legal professionals have the relevant expertise and competencies to deliver legal services and promote climate justice to a wide range of clients in a climate transformed world. I acknowledge that I'm recording this presentation on the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations and that their sovereignty over these lands has never ceded. In this presentation, I want to share with you some of our experiences and learning from an integrated project to use open education resources for responding to the challenges of climate change in the legal profession. The materials of this presentation were developed through our ongoing collaboration with open education resource professionals, especially Stephen Chang, Coordinator, Open Education and Scholarship at the La Trobe e-Bureau. The main outputs of this project are an open textbook entitled Becoming a Climate Conscious Lawyer, Climate Change and the Australian Legal System, and an educator's companion to this core text that will support teaching staff to implement it into the curriculum in diverse ways. The core text addresses a gap in open education resources for legal education. It provides an original, innovative, and accessible analysis of the impact of climate change on legal doctrines and principles. It offers an overview of cutting-edge developments and analysis of how the legal professionals, law students, and legal educators to understand current legal challenges, providing the know-how to strategically navigate and positively influence the development of law to respond to a climate-changed world. The textbook will have 26 chapters authored by over 45 legal educators and professionals from across 15 law schools in Australia. It will be published in 3 tranches. The first tranche was published in mid-2024, and tranche 2 and 3 are scheduled for publication in early 2025. The book is published through the La Trobe e-Bureau, one of Australia's leading open education resource publishers. By publishing the book in digital and open access format, we're able to create a dynamic resource that can be updated in response to legal developments relating to climate change and promote more equitable and just access to resources to support climate-conscious legal education. The publication of the Open Education Resource was one central part of a broader project to transform Australian legal education, to make it more climate conscious. Climate change is one of the defining challenges of our time. Climate change impacts and the transition to a low-carbon society are already posing fundamental challenges to key legal doctrines and principles and transforming many areas of law. The widespread legal change necessarily extends beyond the specialised field of climate or environment law and implicates all areas of law and legal practice. Current law students will need a transformative legal education that will guide them to become climate-conscious legal professionals. For this reason, the mainstreaming of climate change considerations across legal education is urgently necessary. We suggest that there are 3 potential pathways for mainstreaming climate change considerations in legal education: through more top-down institutional approaches, or alternatively through more decentralized bottom-up approaches, or a combination of these. We call these supplementing, embedding, and centering. For all these pathways, though, similar prerequisites are needed: an awareness of the need for climate mainstreaming, educational resources that can be used by academics in climate mainstreaming, and networks of peer support to support each other in the practice of climate mainstreaming. So open education resource development was a subset of our broader goals to transform Australian legal education. The other elements of the project included mapping pedagogical change, creating educational resources, and building a community practice to promote the resource and support the shift to climate-conscious legal education. A survey of Australian law academics conducted in 2023 showed that climate change is considered and discussed in many core Australian law subjects. However, the survey also revealed that several barriers remain to mainstreaming climate change in legal education, including a lack of resources, knowledge about best practice, and knowledge about climate legal practice. The survey provided a chance to listen to and learn from academics about their experiences and needs, which enabled us to design the open education resource in a way that best responded to these needs. We also sought to build a community of practice to promote the resources and support the shift towards climate conscious legal education, including hosting national and international workshops and conferences, developing a website to centralize resources and share best practices, and raising awareness through conference presentations. From the initial stages of conceptualizing this project, it was clear that we were not trying to develop a conventional legal textbook. What we had in mind was something much more dynamic than traditional publishing models could produce. Another challenge that was identified was the rapidly changing legal and policy landscape. New court cases were regularly handed down, or new laws made that changed the legal context. These changes highlighted the importance and the urgency of this work. However, creating a resource that was adaptive and flexible enough to incorporate these changes also created new challenges. As a digital text, the project innovates on standard format materials, providing scope for the reader interaction through digital affordances, the possibility of student and teacher collaboration, and enables regular updates. Thus, the open education resource was never conceptualized as an output, but rather as a living text that would require regular updates and keep growing in response to changes in the legal landscape and the changing demands of users, both academics, students, and legal professionals. Open licensing technologies made it possible for us to create an equitable, adaptive, interactive, and dynamic resource. Working with experts on open education prompted deeper methodological reflections on the practice of developing an open education resource, how to utilize technological capabilities to promote accessibility engagement, as well as how to create a living resource that can be continuously updated. The close collaboration for La Trobe e-Bureau fostered new ambitious branches of this project, such as the development of an educator's companion to the core text. So as I mentioned, this collaboration has led to the expansion of the project in exciting new directions. We are now developing an educator's companion, which will be the first volume internationally to provide learning resources for climate-conscious legal education, including learning activities, case studies, and assessment tasks. One of the key learnings from this project was that the development of open education resources is most successful when it is part of a broader project that generates both interest in and an audience for the resource. There is ongoing work needed to drive take-up of this resource, both by individual academics, but also through institutional centering of climate change considerations in Australian law degrees. We also hope to promote this open educational resource to colleagues in other countries around the world and inspire them to do something similar to help make legal education in their jurisdiction more climate conscious also. You can see some slides, some references and acknowledgements, and thank you very much for listening to this presentation.